Shalom. Giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. News and prophecy, where we link the things happening right before your very eyes to the Holy Scriptures, also tying the ancient world to the now. All right, as the Scriptures say, that which is then is now, and there is no new thing under the sun. You know, all of these ancient stories and histories we have in the Holy Scriptures, as the Scriptures say, they are written for our learning. Let's get that in the book of Romans, the 15th chapter. Right. Romans chapter 15 and 4, it says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the Scriptures might have hope." Okay, and that's one of the things, you know, that our apostles, bishops, and elders taught us, you know, linking the then to the now. Okay, because we get a lot of insight of what's happening now, right, by simply looking back to the ancient stories of old. Okay, again, we look at the Tower of Babel. Okay, in the book of Genesis, the 11th chapter, pretty much we're looking at the same thing. We're looking at, tyranny, you know, surveillance, and the thought of heathen becoming gods on earth, you know, through, you know, mind manipulation, technology. You know, all of these things happen, you know, in ancient times. In today's lesson, there's another scripture I want to get, 2 Peter 3 and 2. I believe that's where it's at. Second Peter chapter 3 and 2 says that ye may be mindful. As a matter of fact, let's start at 1. "This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance, that ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets, and of the commandment of us, the apostles, and of the Lord and Savior." So you have to be mindful of the words spoken by the prophets, all right, as they were in their captivities. There's notable, you know, themes you continuously saw, names, all right, and as we know, America is the mother. Okay, let's get that in the book of Revelation. This is the book of Revelation 17 and 5, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth." So this is the mother of all harlots, meaning you can go back into all of these ancient, you know, systems of worship, you know, all of the idols of the ancient world, and we see them, you know, back here today. Okay, in many ways, you know, I was listening to the elder bishop Tazadakba. Right, when you get Jeremiah the 50th chapter, all right, which is something I didn't know. You can, you know, link the origins of hell and the god of the underworld to Marduk, all right, which here in Jeremiah 50 and 1 it says, "The word that the Lord spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet." Okay, now this is speaking of end time prophecy. This is speaking of the modern Babylon the Great. And how do we know that? Well, all you have to do is read the judgment associated with this Babylon the Great. Okay, it's foretold to be as Sodom and Gomorrah, burnt, okay, to a crisp, Jeremiah 50 and 13, "Because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall never be inhabited. It shall be wholly desolate." You see what I'm saying? So when we read this, we know Jeremiah was in the Babylonian captivity, the Neo-Babylonian captivity. But when you read this letter, all right, it's speaking of where we are now. This is the land of the Chaldeans, and that's what we're going to tap into. It says, declare ye among the nations, publish and set up a standard, publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken, Baal is confounded, Marduk is broken in pieces, and her idols are confounded. Her images are broken pieces. And that's all of the various different idols of the ancient world. All right. Which Marduk, if you look it up, the Bishop Tazadakba was going into how this god was associated with the god of an underworld at one point in the ancient Babel, with Nimrod and all of that, Maradak. And the common theme is Marah, right, which is rebellious or bitter. Okay. It's Marduk actually, but thy rebellion, the chief deity of the Babylonians in the time of Nebuchadnezzar, and it goes back even further when you go into it. But this god was associated, with a god of an underworld, okay, in certain myths. But again, that god is back here today, being worshipped, all right, under various different, idols, ideologies, names, myths. So all of these different idols present themselves, all right, and in the world we live in now. In today's lesson, what we're going to focus on is, as you can see here, the land of the Chaldeans. Okay, now when you look up the Chaldeans, all right, let's look up this term Chaldean. I believe I have it here anyway. All right, it says Ka-sha-da Yama, right? Ka-sha-dam, Ka-sha-da-yama. Okay. Chaldeans, a territory in lower Mesopotamia associated with Iraq. That's the area of Babylon, right, which was established by Nimrod. Okay. But at the time that Jeremiah was on the scene, Ezekiel and so forth, all right, it wasn't the sons of Cush that were ruling. It was actually Assyrians, which are Shemitic people. But territory in lower Mesopotamia bordering the Persian Gulf, all right, it says those persons considered to be the wisest in the land. See, those persons considered to be the wisest of the land. Okay. Also an astrologer. Okay. Also an astrologer. Okay. And this is ultimately what it means. It says clod breakers. Interesting. I have to look more into that. But when you go to Isaiah, the 47th chapter, right, in the first verse, which we know this is also speaking of the daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great. Okay. Isaiah 47:1, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. We know, pursuant to the book of Psalms 137. Let's get that real quick. Psalms 137 and 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stone. So the daughter of Babylon prophetically is associated with the biblical Edomites. Okay, they run and control the daughter of Babylon. Okay, and going back here, Isaiah 47:1, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. So this is a message to Esau, Edom. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, meaning your rulership is just about up. But he calls him the daughter of the Chaldeans. Okay. And a daughter admires her father. Okay. So again, this place, Babylon the Great, all right, admires all of the ancient, occult practices, witchcraft, sacrifices, and everything else that these ancient kingdoms practiced. Okay? This is the daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Okay? Also here, as we read down, let's see here. There's another place where it's okay. Isaiah 47:5. Sit thou silent, get thee in the darkness, O daughter of the Chaldean. Thou shalt no more be called the lady of kingdoms. Okay, and the lady of kingdoms is directly associated. Let's see if we can get it with Revelation, the 18th chapter. Okay, it's directly associated with Revelation, the 18th chapter, Revelation, the 17th chapter, where you see this woman sitting up on the scarlet colored beast with the names full of blasphemy. All right, America. All right, sitting up on the scarlet colored beast, which scarlet is a derivative of red. Okay, this beast system, NATO and the EU, that strengthens her. Okay, but again, it's likened unto a woman, that great city, the woman, Revelation 17 and 18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Revelation 18 and 7, how much hath she glorified herself and lived deliciously? So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I said, a queen, I am no widow, and I shall see no sorrow. And this is the mindset of the modern day Chaldeans in the sense of their technology. And that's what we're going to get into in this lesson. Okay, so again, the daughter of the Chaldeans shall no more be called a lady. All right, shall no more be given unto her pleasures. Verse 8. As a matter of fact, verse 7, thou hast said, I shall be a lady forever. Okay, and this is the same exact judgment that we're reading about in Revelation, the 18th chapter. So this is not speaking of ancient Babylon, and a lot of scholars get it wrong. See, it says, and thou hast said, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou did not lay these things to thine heart, neither did thou remember the latter end of it. Okay, therefore hear thou this, thou that are given unto pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that saith in thine heart, I am. And this is what they're saying through this technology, that they are the God. All right, they are the Most High. They're going to outdo the Most High, and none else beside me. That's the talking point of the Most High God, Yahweh. There is no other power besides him. That's his mindset. Okay, you go into the scriptures, see if there's I believe it's something in Isaiah. Let's see here. Let's get Isaiah maybe 44 or 45. Let's see here. Isaiah chapter 45 and 22. Look unto me and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth. For I am the power and there is none else. Okay, so there is no other power that has influence outside of the Most High God, Yahweh. Okay, everything is under he's omnipotent, omnipotent. Okay, so Esau is ultimately trying to take that authority and that mindset through the things that we're witnessing now. Before we get started, this brother Ariella did this video called Path to the MOTB, Surveillance State Planeteer. Okay, Planeteer, and it's a very, very good video. And the beauty of it is that this is a video, which I may have to do two parts to this. This can serve as part one because there's quite a few things I wanted to bring out. But in this video, basically through the Spirit, he went into a few things that I had been looking up in preparation for a news and prophecy. So pretty much the majority of what I wanted to say, he said it already in this path to the MOTB surveillance. So make sure you subscribe and be edified. It's a very, very good video. I mean, his brother went in and pretty much, as you can see here, this Planeteer, in which your president, Donald Trump, okay, the state of Israel are basically have already sold their people out to these agendas for a mass surveillance state where AI is going to be policing you, okay, passing laws, okay, and the tyranny that we constantly speak about is here. It's already here, okay, and as we're talking about the Chaldeans, all right, we always bring this out. The new scientific priesthood wants complete control of what we are told. And that's exactly what this is, okay? A scientific priesthood. And that's who the Chaldeans were, okay? The Chaldeans were a scientific priesthood, all right, based upon the science of that day. Now that we're living in modern times, we're going to show you comparisons, okay, as to why in the Holy Scriptures would this place, Babylon the Great, be likened unto the daughter of the Chaldeans. Okay. And real quick, let's go to ChatGPT. Right. And I just kind of went into a few things. How did the Chaldeans come into power? Who were the Chaldeans? The Chaldeans were a Semitic people who settled in southern Mesopotamia, which is Ur of the Chaldees. All right. Babel. Okay. But this is at the time of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Okay, this is not at the time of Genesis, the 11th chapter. This is at the time of the Neo-Assyrian, Neo-Babylonian Empire, the likes of Jeremiah and so forth. All right, so as you go down, it gives you a little history. During the fall of the Assyrian Empire, they became dominant. Let's go here. Let's see here. The Chaldeans came into power in Babylon and overthrew Assyria by leading a nationalist Babylonian revolt, exploiting Assyria's internal weakness, forming a strong military alliance with the Medes, destroying Assyria's core cities like Nineveh. Okay. Did the Chaldeans secretly grab power through deception? Yes, there's strong evidence that the Chaldeans used both rebellion and cunning political maneuvering. Okay, and this is what we're witnessing. Okay, rebellion and cunning political maneuvering. All right, like when Donald Trump gets elected, immediately you see him sitting there with technocrats. Immediately you see Elon Musk pop up. We know that the Israel lobbyists, all right, pretty much buy out your presidency. Ultimately, it's been bought. Your presidency, your governments, they're all pretty much under the control of people who rule, all right, behind the curtains, doing their bidding. See, and this is how the Chaldeans ruled as well, and we'll show you. Okay, but as you can see here, the Chaldeans used both rebellion and cunning political maneuvering, including deception, to rise to power, especially in Babylon. Here's how it unfolded with open conflict and behind-the-scenes strategy. And this is what we're witnessing, behind-the-scenes strategy. But we're living in a time where the man of sin is being made bare. It says, before their full takeover, the Chaldean tribal leaders often intervened in Babylonian dynastic struggles, sometimes posing as allies, Elon Musk and the rest of these technocrats, Larry Ellison, right? And so many more. And we're going to show you some of them. Other times usurping power. For example, Marduk, Apla, yada, 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 a Chaldean prince, briefly ruled in Babylon in the 8th century by pretending loyalty to Assyria, then rebelling once in power. He portrayed himself as a Babylonian patriot, defending traditional gods and temples, winning local support, even though he was not originally Babylonian. Okay. And you can go into more of that. But as you can see here, the use of propaganda and religious legitimacy, the Chaldeans were masters at using religion and symbolism to legitimize their rule. Okay. They claim to restore ancient Babylonian traditions and worship, contrasting themselves with the hated Assyrian overlords. Okay, they pitted one side against another, just like they do today. All right, Trump was supposed to come and save you from the evils of the left. This won over the priesthood and population, allowing them to take power with minimal resistance in some areas. And this is ultimately what's happening. Here is where you see a small group of technocrats ruling behind closed doors, okay, seizing power into themselves. Okay, and the first video that we're going to start with is which that was ironic, man. The brother, the elder Ariala, used some of the very videos that I had. So this was all the spirit. So the Lord wants this to come out because we're living amongst the Chaldeans right now. Okay. The same systems of worship, all of that, where it's all back. That which is then is now. History merely repeats itself, man. Okay. And as you can see, this is off of the Jimmy Dore show. Technocrats have taken control of the Trump administration. Okay, let's listen to a little bit of this. And again, we put and show you the title of these videos in the page so that you can go and look it up if you want to check it out on your own. But let's take a listen.
What do you think about the use of artificial intelligence or lavender by the...
Started over, Slocky. Make that a little louder for you. Let's go.
What do you think about the use of artificial intelligence or lavender by the IDF in identifying Hamas targets? And secondly, do you agree with Elon Musk about that the population decline is a risk for humanity?
Look, I'm not, without going into all the I'm not on top of all the details of what's going on.
People are caught there. People are waking up to them. But we have here at Great Millstone kept you up to speed with the technocracy that's being set up before you. And again, they're using chaos as a means to set up these systems of surveillance, okay, and control. As a matter of fact, before we get into that, let's listen to some of this off of technocracy.news. And again, what is a technocracy? Okay, a government pretty much based in people who have expertise in science and technology. Okay, so the laws that are going to be passed, okay, are going to be passed by technocrats. Okay, and that's ultimately what's happening. States aren't passing laws anymore. Ultimately, the technocrats are overriding the states, which is what you see in California, you know, the back and forth between, you know, Newsom and Trump, which is all for show. In the end, the technocrats are going to have the last word, and they're going to be the ones that implement that MOTB system, even if certain governors of certain states don't agree. Okay, and they're going to have the necessary chaos in place to justify it. And we're going to get into Planeteer, what it is, and again, how it's being used. All right. These left-hand prophets, this left-hand priesthood that's taking root right before your very eyes. And your President Trump sold your asses out to these demons, man. All of them are demons, but this is a different type of government that's getting ready to be set up for the new world. All right. But we'll get into that. Let's listen to this real quick.
Historically, technocracy thrives not in times of democratic stability, but in moments of systemic failure when populations and institutions are desperate for scientific or data-driven solutions to chaos. One thing is for
scientific and data-driven solutions to chaos, and we're witnessing the chaos. A lot of it is forced, but we live in a chaotic world, and we always told you that they're going to bring order out of chaos. Okay? And they're doing it through mind manipulation, witchcraft, okay, enchantments. And this is basically how the ancient Chaldeans ruled, and we'll get more into that. But again, this might have to be two parts.
Sure, technocrats thrive during periods of crisis and chaos. That would be now. War in Europe. War in the Mideast. Threats of war in Asia. Riots everywhere, including in America. Techno-populism is offered as the solution, as populists everywhere think that technocracy is the solution while drinking the Kool-Aid. Patrick Wood, editor. Military conflict and economic collapse are not the enemies of technocracy, they are the accelerants. In the cascading disorder that now defines the world stage, technocrats are not standing still. They are moving, often invisibly, seizing opportunities presented by fractured nations, broken economies, and disillusioned citizens. What the average person sees as chaos, the technocrat sees as fertile soil for transformation, a dismantling of traditional systems, and the rise of an engineered society governed not by law, liberty, or the consent of the governed.
You see that? Listen to what she said. Let's back it up a little bit.
In the cascading disorder that now defines the world stage, technocrats are not standing still. They are moving, often invisibly, seizing opportunities presented by fractured nations.
That's what the Chaldeans did. We just showed you. Okay, through the fall of the Assyrian Empire and the instability that was going on, they wiggled themselves up in there through alliances, okay, and consolidated power to themselves, okay, and they did it behind closed doors, okay, but this is basically what they're doing today, okay. Again, manipulation of politics. How the hell did Elon Musk, all right, become associated with your president? How the hell does Larry Ellison and all of these transhumanists and AI big tech guys all of a sudden, all right, they're in league with the president? Who voted for these people? Okay, well, this is how the Chaldeans got down. Okay, we'll get more into it. Just be patient, Lord willing.
Broken economies, and disillusioned citizens. What the average person sees as chaos, the technocrat sees as fertile soil for transformation, a dismantling of traditional systems, and the rise of an engineered society governed.
Dismantling of traditional systems, your government, the ways of governance, the old world, the old way, paper money, all of that is getting ready to be thrown out of the door.
Not by law, liberty, or the consent of the governed, but by data, code, and algorithm. It has always been this way. Technocracy was born out of crisis in the 1930s, engineered as an alternative to both failed capitalism and creeping socialism. Its architects promised an efficient, scientific utopia managed by experts, insulated from messy democratic politics. The original technocrats proposed a new economic system based on energy accounting and a complete redesign of society, from education and food production to governance and resource distribution.
And it's happening, okay, in Hawaii, okay. Although it's not super big, but they became the first state to charge tourists for a carbon footprint. And then this is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Of water resources and fire response. The new green fee will apply to travelers staying in hotels, short-term vacation rentals, and for the first time ever, cruise ships. For a nightly hotel rate of $300, the tax would add an extra $2.25 each day.
Right. And again, that seems small, right? But again, this is ultimately your carbon footprint. There's going to be a carbon tax applied to everything. And the tyranny is only going to get, all right, worse and worse and worse. Okay, let's listen to a little bit more of this.
While it was shelved by public resistance and constitutional limitations, the ideology never died. It simply went underground, embedded itself in academic institutions, think tanks, and policy circles, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. That moment is now. In the wake of a deliberately deconstructed world, technocrats are moving quickly. The Ukraine war, the Hamas-Israel conflict, China's saber-rattling over Taiwan, and the specter of World War III are just the visible edges of a deeper rot. Economically, the house of cards is collapsing under its own weight. Sovereign debt crises, inflationary spirals, broken supply chains, and manipulated markets have created a financial hall of mirrors where nothing is as it seems. In this volatile landscape, the very institutions designed to protect freedom, nation-states, representative governments, free markets, are losing credibility.
Right. There you go. So out with the old, in with the new. Okay?
And into this
And the very people who, condemned, technocracies, under Biden, it was globalist agenda, even like Alex Jones. Now they're justifying it with what Trump is doing. Planeteer is not that bad. And we're going to show you what it is and how it's being used, because again, they throw all of these things at you to confuse you from the reality of what's going on. But the prophets, through the spirit of Yahweh Shemiah Shah, keep a good a watch on this guy. You got to keep your eye on this devil. And the Lord has set up these kind of websites, alternative media, that third witness. All right, because you have the two witnesses who have the right report, like Joshua and Caleb. All right, but it's the elect of Judah and Ephraim. Right, Joshua was Ephraim, Caleb was Judah, but the two witnesses is the elect of Judah and Ephraim prophesying, okay, coming and having the Holy Spirit and having the right report, exposing the man of sin, because that's ultimately what the times that we're in. So even his own kind, that third witness, all right, heathen, 2/3, other Edomites, all right, are seeing things and have insight to information that they bring out, and we just tap into it to bring it to you.
Hume steps the technocrat, bearing solutions that promise stability, order, and progress at the cost of liberty. One of the most potent tools being deployed under the radar is the central bank digital currency, CBDC. With fiat currencies faltering and inflation burning through working-class wages, CBDCs are sold as innovative monetary tools, giving governments the ability to manage money more efficiently. But behind the curtain, they are instruments of total control. Unlike cash, CBDCs are programmable. This means they can be turned off, redirected, or time-limited based on behavior, political affiliation, or social score.
There you go. And that's what Planetaire, the Babel Street, all of these various different things that, you'll hear about it, and it just pops up. This is ultimately what's being set up. The MOTB system is being laid, the groundwork is being laid right before our very eyes. Listen to a little bit more.
In times of economic collapse, the desperate will accept these tools willingly if it means access to food, rent, or a modest existence. What's being built is not a banking system, but a behavioral control grid. Coupled with CBDCs are digital identity systems that bind individuals to a unified data profile, a master record of health, finances, travel, education, social media behavior, and even biometric markers. Under the guise of humanitarian aid or refugee management, these ID systems are being rolled out in war-torn regions, particularly in the global south. They're framed as tools for access and security, but in truth, they function as passports to participate in the emerging technocratic economy. Without your ID, you will not be able to buy or sell, to travel, to work.
Right, without your digital ID, and we know it's going to the MOTB. We'll come back to this. Let's listen to a little bit of this. Technocrats have taken control of the Trump administration. Your modern day Chaldeans. Again, all right, a scientific priesthood. That's what you see when you see the gates of hell, Gil Bates and all of these people pop up, in times of trouble, telling you the direction you're going to go and what you need to do. Ultimately, that's what's being set up. In 2020, who was on the news telling you, all right, what you need to do? What did Joe Biden tell you when he got elected? We're going to have less politics and more science. Okay? And you have various different, groups, the Bilderberg, the WH to the Izzo, the WEF. It's so many different, regimes and schemes going on that you just have to account it to what this elder has here in Psalm 64. All right. And 1, David, hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked and from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. They want the birthright back. The perfect are the elect, and the elect are only perfect through the blood of Yahweh Shai. And when you read Revelation, the 13th chapter, or the 12th chapter, it tells you they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. 3 key things you'll need to be delivered: the blood of Yahweh Shai, the right, correct breakdown in the form of the testimony, okay, and a mindset to really look at this world as a throwaway. This life, ultimately, all right, death has no power over our decision making. Okay, those are the 3 necessary mindsets. All right, the 3 necessary keys to salvation: the blood of Yahweh Shai. All right, access to the Holy Spirit through that blood, the Holy Spirit of promise, where you can have faith and you can look at this world and this life as dung. Okay. And when you're faced with losing things, when you're faced with giving up this world, you already know that this world is evil. See? And this is why the Lord is allowing us insight into what these devils are doing, so that you can really look at this world and these people and say, I don't want anything to do with it. So none of us have any excuse, but let's go.
Israel, because my bias is to defer to Israel.
You made a short documentary now. This is about 10 minutes long. I'm going to play it. I wanted to just play a clip of it, but it's very powerful, and I think it's what people need to hear and to understand what's exactly going on. And when I say that your country is being run by a handful of billionaires, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So let's watch this, because everybody had high hope for J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, that they were actually the enemies of the deep state and that the deep state was working against them. Well, now with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel going along with every garbage theory about the deep state and that they're closing down the investigation into the assassination attempt, we now know that those things were not on what they appeared to be. And just same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. So the Trump administration is not what they appeared to be, and neither is Dan Bongino and Kash Patel or any of those people in the right.
It was all deception. The Chaldeans have ultimately bought out your presidency. Okay, and now they have power. Okay, they again, the two horns like a lamb. Okay, the Democratic and Republican system has been used as a means to deceive you, give you a false sense of hope. Now they're getting ready to speak as a dragon. Okay, through this surveillance, all right, slave system that they're going to set up. And it's not going to be anything nice. Okay, and it's already here. Okay, this is why you have to watch this video. I mean, he broke some things down. I was like, wow, all right. Very good video. Okay. But I'm going to go to this video too that he brought out. I actually had it. So it's the spirit. It's the spirit.
Right now, the FDA is still recommending COVID boosters, just so you know. So they're not what they claim to be. But here's this is going to make it clear for people. Here we go.
Thank you very much. Wow.
Donald Trump's second term is off to a controversial start, with his supporters celebrating his executive orders to free Ross Ulbricht, end funding for schools requiring COVID-19 injections, calling for releasing the JFK, MLK, and RFK files, and ending support for U.S. aid.
So that's what we thought was coming. We were all on board for all of Donald Trump's the big fighter against the deep state and all things like that. Well, guess what happened?
Okay, that solves that problem.
However, while the MAGA movement cheers Trump for moving at a rapid pace, many of his supporters appear to be turning a blind eye to the influence of Peter Thiel and the other technocrats. Who is Peter Thiel and what is a technocrat? Let's dive in. In the early 20th century, a movement began to develop around a political theory known as technocracy, a system wherein management of governments is handled by technical experts, often involving technology-focused solutions. Early proponents of technocracy claimed that the concept would lead to better management of resources and the protection of the planet. However, this system of governance by technological experts and their technology would also involve a loss of privacy, as well as centralization of power and the management of all human behavior.
So this is not a new thing, but now they've figured out a way to seize power, and they've done it. So this is not a new thing. This is an idea that's been around for a long time.
Though the term appears to have been largely forgotten, the technocratic philosophy and influence can be seen everywhere in our modern digital world.
Remember, they said China is the model of the environment that they want. But I typed in what is a technocracy, a system of government control with scientists, engineers, economics, and other technical experts rather than elected politicians or business leaders. Make the key decisions based on data, algorithms, and technical knowledge. And remember, we told you that they're going to bring back their scientific racism. Power that with AI, okay, and look at the world before you. Look at where things are going, okay? Judah and Ephraim are getting ready to be a big target, okay, based upon what? Law. And who's going to pass the laws? These technocrats, okay? AI, the new God, the AI God, okay? So the decisions, the laws, and everything that are going to be passed are going to be rooted in what the Chaldeans want. Okay, and let's not forget the book of Habakkuk, where the Lord gives him a vision, because Habakkuk is asking the Lord, when are you going to end all of this injustice? All right, and he talks about raising up the Chaldeans. Habakkuk 1:6. For I will raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. Okay, and who's doing this today? They are terrible and dreadful, and their judgment and their dignity shall precede themselves. Their horses are swifter than the leopards, and they are more fierce than the evening wolves. Their horsemen shall spread themselves all throughout the four corners of the earth, waging war, stealing lands, working wickedness. They have the blessing of the sword. They have the blessing of, money. They control resources. They can buy out presidencies. They can buy out school systems, educational systems, so that their will is done. They control the food, the air, the water. Okay? Their horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as the eagle that hasted to eat. Okay? They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand. And this is what the ancient Chaldeans were able to do. Okay, and this is what they're doing today. And they shall scoff at kings, economic hitmen, and princes shall be a scorn unto them, and they shall deride every stronghold. So when you're looking at the powers that be that rule today, all right, they are the modern day Chaldeans, okay, which were considered the wisest of that age. And they dwelt, and we're going to get into some more showing you what they were doing, how they got down. But let's listen to a little bit more of this.
Already beginning to arrive at the huge civic auditorium, where a large receptive audience turned out to hear Howard Scott as he warned of an impending crisis in America's domestic and foreign affairs.
One of the most influential proponents of technocracy was a man named Howard Scott, a writer who founded the Technical Alliance in New York City in 1919. Scott believed that business owners lacked the necessary skills and data to reform their industry, and thus control should be handed over to engineers. The technocrats publicized their vision of a centrally planned world via books, speeches, clubs, and political parties. This resulted in a brief period of popularity in the U.S. and Canada in the years following the Great Depression. As politicians and economists search for a solution to the financial calamity.
What did the Great Depression lead to? Okay, the Social Security number, which many, as we showed you in a prior video, many linked that to the MOTB. At that time, they were like, "Nah, this is the tracking. This is you're giving us a ID based upon a number, yada yada yada." Okay, well again, now that system, all right, is forwarding itself. Now let's ask chat so we can make sure, so you can know. Another part of the third witness team, all right, artificial Idumean AI, okay, does more than dribble. Did the Great Depression, which we're coming up on another Great Depression, right, lead to yes, the GD, Great Depression played a major role in the creation of SSNs. Okay? See that? It was a solution to the chaos. See that? Yep. The water to the brother War Gabar. To track your earnings, to ensure person's contributions. It became an identifier. Okay? So that you can work, get paid in this system. Okay? Did some people think it was the mark of the beast? Yes, many people did and still do believe that SSN numbers might be connected to the MOTB. Okay? It's required for you to work. Without an SNN, you couldn't work. You couldn't be legally employed. Tied to identity, tied to government tracking. Okay? So at that time, some religious groups, especially fundamentalist and prophetic circles, were deeply suspicious of any government system that seemed to number people. Okay? So there were people back then. Okay, but let's listen to some more.
The technocrats imagined a world where politicians and business owners were replaced with scientists, engineers, and other technical experts who would manage the economy. However, in the 1940s, mainstream interest in the technocracy movement seemed to dissipate. The ideas that underpinned the technocratic vision received a notable endorsement in 1970 when political scientist Zbigniew Brzezinski released his book, Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era. Brzezinski will be familiar to long-term researchers of the ruling elite. Until his death in 2018, Brzezinski was a diplomat who ran in the same circles as David Rockefeller and former Secretary of State and accused war criminal Henry Kissinger.
Chaldeans.
Brzezinski served as advisor to several presidents, from Jimmy Carter to Barack Obama. He was also a member of the Atlantic Council, the National Endowment for Democracy, and the Council on Foreign Relations. Although Brzezinski's...
See, this is who your presidents work for, these people. And any president that gets out of line, you already know where they're going to go. Okay, so for you people to really think Trump, that's why they gave you that mock assassination attempt. All right, y'all really thought he was against the deep state. It was a real mind fuck. It was witchcraft. It was an enchantment. And people really bought into the idea that Trump was something different. He's really against the deep state. Okay, but you know, let's listen to a little bit more.
His book, Between Two Ages, substituted the term technotronic for technocratic. The depiction of the future is the same. A world in which the scientific and technological elite centrally plan the lives of all humanity. Essentially, Brzezinski's vision is a technologically advanced, authoritarian-style collectivism wherein individual liberties are subordinated to the apparent needs of the collective. When we examine the world of 2025, we clearly see the signs of technocratic influence. For example, we can see this influence in the wealthiest companies and the most influential CEOs. These individuals are running companies that have amassed large amounts of financial wealth as well as unfathomable amounts of digital data on all of their customers. From Jeff Bezos at Amazon, Bill Gates of Microsoft, Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, Elon Musk of Tesla and SpaceX, we can see the technocratic ideology.
These are the modern day Chaldeans. Just a few of them. But even deeper than them is people behind them. Okay?
These men and their colleagues in various technological industries wield immense power through their companies, wealth, and cultural influence. These individuals have enough money, resources, and connections to shape elections, geoengineer the climate, and cause dips in the stock market, to name a few examples. They are the technocratic class of 2025. Who is Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel is the infamous co-founder of Palantir, the private surveillance firm with a long history of involvement and collaboration with the CIA. Thiel is also a steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group, the infamously secretive group which represents the interests of the hidden ruling class. In the second Trump administration, Thiel's influence is more visible than ever, as numerous associates and acolytes of his are set to play various influential roles. Thiel has a long history of supporting the two-time president.
I urge all of my...
Now, what did we read earlier? The Chaldeans manipulated Babylonian politics. Okay? They intervened in struggles. They posed as allies, but they usurped the authority through that. They don't give a damn about you Americans, man. MAGA is not at the forefront of their plan. They want to dismantle this system. America and the Constitution stands in the way of what these people want. They're trying to set up Satan's kingdom on the planet Earth. Okay. And I mean, you know, and a lot of Trump's talking points, the witchcraft is serious. It sounds good. Okay. It really played on people's emotions. Even some of the things he's doing and saying makes sense. But really, it's all leading you to the same destination as the left was going to lead you. And that's to the MOTB system. And now Palantir, okay, is set up here already and is getting ready to get even worse. Okay, the same surveillance technology, all right, that's being used, all right, to bomb and track those Palestinian and certain leaders in Iran. And over the years, how are they able to just find people? Well, it's these AI surveillance systems, man, that we're getting ready to tap into a little bit.
fellow Americans to stand up and vote for Donald Trump.
An examination of Donald Trump's cabinet reveals many connections to Thiel. Vice President J.D. Vance. Despite not giving directly to the 2024 campaign, Thiel has gained well-deserved scrutiny for his role in financing the rise of Vice President J.D. Vance. Vance, the 40-year-old former senator from Ohio, was in attendance at former COO of PayPal David Sachs' June 24 fundraiser for Trump.
Remember, all of these people were against Trump at one point. They were enemies. You know.
According to two people with knowledge of the exchange, during this June event, Trump informally polled the room regarding who he should choose for vice presidential running mate. David Sachs and others in attendance all told Trump he should choose Vance. Elon Musk also reportedly encouraged Trump to pick Vance. And a few weeks later, at the 2024 Republican National Convention, that's exactly what Donald Trump did. Thiel and Vance have an extensive relationship. Vance claims that after hearing Peter Thiel deliver a speech at Yale Law School in 2011, he was inspired to pursue a career in big tech firms. He started as a junior investor with the Thiel-backed Mithril Capital in 2016. Vance briefly worked at biotech firm Circuit Therapeutics, a move which then CEO Frederick Moll told the New York Times was, quote, a favor to Peter. In 2019, Vance would found his own venture firm, Narya Capital, with financial backing from the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, the billionaire investor Mark Andreessen, and of course, Peter Thiel. When Vance announced his run for Ohio Senator, Peter Thiel was there and gave $15 million to the campaign. With this money, Vance was able to secure a victory, and within 2 years, he was on the way to the White House with the full support of Peter Thiel and the Technocrats. Elon Musk. While Musk is a powerful and influential technocrat in his own right, he and Thiel have their own history of collaboration. Musk and Thiel have been friends for more than 2 decades, and both men received massive financial wealth from their co-founding of PayPal. Thiel has also been a prominent investor in Musk's various ventures, including Neuralink. Musk and Peter Thiel also co-founded America PAC as their vehicle to support Trump's return to the White House. As promised, Trump nominated Musk to lead the Department of Government Efficiency. And while the idea of reducing government waste and increasing efficiency is an appealing proposition, it should also be noted that Musk's talk of efficiency is reminiscent of the little-known efficiency movement, which predated the more well-known technocracy movement. The efficiency movement sought...
See, these are all enchantments. Okay, this is why here in Isaiah, the 47th chapter, as it's speaking to the daughter of Babylon, the daughter of the Chaldeans, okay, Isaiah 47:10, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. See, thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. They don't think anyone sees them, but they're ultimately, we're living in a time pursuant to 2 Thessalonians. Let's get it real quick. Our favorite scripture. 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, and the 8th verse. And then shall that wicked be revealed. And ultimately, what would be his mindset? Okay? The man of sin would have to be revealed, and before the end came. Esau is the end of the world, man. Okay? The son of perdition. Okay? Who opposeth, verse 4, and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. All right, he wants to get in the temple. Okay, and that's twofold, because it's speaking of those small hats, because ultimately that's who's running this all. Because when you look at this word temple, it's speaking to the temple at Jerusalem, but we know the body is the temple. He wants to get inside the temple and rule as a God. See, and undermine the plan of the Most High God. Okay, so the wicked would eventually be revealed before the end came, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, verse 8, and destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all powers and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So many of our people are going to be under a strong delusion. Many of our people, some of these, internet gurus, they're big Trump supporters. Okay, they really believe that this is it. Okay, and again, some of the talking points do make sense, especially, how Trump came in with, a man is a man, a woman is a woman. No tranny should go into the girls' bathroom. No tranny should be able to play sports with girls, and all of that stuff made sense. You see. And that was a purpose that they did that. Much of the stuff that the left did, allowing all of these migrants over here, of course, all right, an agenda against all of that made sense, but it was done in deception. See? He again, under his tongue. Let's type that in. This man is the devil, man. He's more subtle than any of the beasts of the field. Okay? Job 20:12, though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue. Psalms 10:7, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit, and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Words are smoother than butter. That's the one I'm looking for. Okay. This was the perfect example of that. Psalms chapter 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were salted in oil, yet they were drawn swords. Cast thy burden on the Lord. The just are going to have to live by faith because these people are crazy.
To identify and eliminate waste in all areas of economy and society, and to develop and implement best practices. Supporters of this movement included Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller. Is the goal of Trump and Musk to make government more efficient to serve the people?
We're going to make the future good.
No.
We're going to make it good.
Or is the goal to finally fulfill the dream of the original technocrats and eliminate the political and business classes in favor of machines, artificial intelligence, central planning, and managing society? David Sachs. Sachs is most well known for his involvement in the early days of PayPal, serving as the COO with Thiel as the CEO. He is considered a member of the so-called PayPal Mafia, a name given to the founders of PayPal, who later founded numerous tech companies, including Tesla, LinkedIn, Palantir, SpaceX, YouTube, and Yelp. In June 2024, it was Sachs who hosted a fundraiser for Trump at his home in San Francisco. It was this dinner where the billionaires told Trump he should choose Vance as his running mate. Shortly after his victory in the 2024 election, Trump rewarded Sachs for his loyalty by appointing him as the AI and crypto czar. In this position, Sachs is expected to greatly influence the U.S. government's policies on cryptocurrency and the advancement of AI.
These people are going to bring that chip. And when you go further into the video, what's that flag you see there? Yeah? What's that flag you see there?
Shortly after his victory in the 2024 election, Trump rewarded Sachs for his loyalty by appointing him as the AI and crypto czar. In this position, Sachs is expected to greatly influence the U.S. government's policies on cryptocurrency and the advancement of AI. Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick is the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald investment firm and has become a vocal proponent for Bitcoin in the last couple years. Trump recently nominated him to be U.S. Commerce Secretary.
Boom. All of these Chaldeans are in there. Man, I'm going to have to really finish this video, and I think you should watch it. It's real good. I mean, he's pretty much, everything is here. Let's listen to a little bit more, because I had some other videos, but again, like we said, we're going to do a part 2.
Lutnick is also an investor in Strive Asset Management, which was founded by Vivek Ramaswamy.
And you see the 3 lines, okay, which ultimately that's that Xi stigma, which this is the MOTB system, man. Okay.
Peter Thiel, the Founders Fund, and J.D. Vance's Nari Capital also contributed to Strive's $30 million funding round. Lutnick is also part owner of video platform Rumble, founded by Chris Pavlovski. In December 2021, Pavlovski announced his intention to take Rumble public by combining forces with CF Acquisition Corp., a division of Lutnick's Cantor Fitzgerald. Lutnick was also formerly a neighbor to Jeffrey Epstein in New York City and raised millions of dollars for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. Lutnick has spoken at the World Economic Forum's various meetings as far back as 2016 and as recently as January 2023. Jim O'Neill.
So Trump's whole cabinet is full with these with technocrats, these techno-feudal lords. And let's remember that Steve Bannon reminded us and warned us about these people. And hang on, there's more to this.
Donald Trump has appointed Jim O'Neill as Deputy Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. O'Neill has extensive connections and collaborations with Peter Thiel. O'Neill worked at 2 of Peter Thiel's funds, Clarion Capital and Mithril Capital Management, from 2012 to 2019. To turn a blind eye to the crimes of Israel, it should come as no surprise that Trump's second cabinet is stacked with former and current associates of Thiel's who also share the zeal for Zionism and technocracy. While these troubling facts may be disturbing to MAGA, these connections need to be questioned. If we are ever to defeat the so-called deep state, we must commit ourselves to opposing techno-tyranny, no matter which political party, politician, or billionaire is promoting it.
So that's the deep state. So the new deep state are these people. So just so you know, there's the as Chris Hedges talked about, it's the corporatists against these new techno feudalists. And
you can watch the rest of that video. Let's jump to this one. which we watched some of this in another News and Prophecy, but check this out.
In the middle. And there aren't 80% in the middle. We all know that many of these sheeple are sucked into the left-right paradigm, and it's essential to pull them out, to make them realize that they're creating all of this noise and all of these psyops to keep us divided. It's the oldest motto in the book, divide and conquer. And that's the purpose that the left-right paradigm serves. They're tearing down the government because they're keeping the people divided and creating psyops to make the people want change. And it's all about a technocracy. Now, I want to play this clip of Peter Thiel talking, where he talks about how technology is an incredible alternative to politics. And people are going to think that's a good idea and a good thing, because obviously politics are a nightmare. Obviously,
remember Trump and the human error, aspect of his presidency, human error and, implementing AI and all of these various different things, man. Here we are.
See, the politicians have gone out of their way over the last couple of years to make everyone hate all politicians on either side of the aisle for the most part. That's been done by design so that people eventually say, you know what? Let's get rid of politics. These people are corrupt, and let's go through technology, because technology doesn't see sides. Technology just sees right down the middle. They'll convince you. But of course, the technology is going to enslave you. It's going to give them master control over everything. And here's Peter Thiel as well. Yes, you can hear the disdain in his voice about Christianity, because as I'll get into eventually in the video, Palantir is involved with everything going on over in Israel. And if you think the Palestinians, the Muslims are the only ones that are going to be targeted, think again, because they despise Christians even more. And this will give them ample opportunity to.
Now, we keep hearing about Palantir. Let's just type in, what is Palantir? All right, it's a powerful data analytic and surveillance technology company that builds software to integrate, analyze, and visualize vast amounts of data. Okay, and Trump, right, as you're going to see here, who uses it? U.S. military, used in drone warfare, battlefield logistics, targeting, CIA, FBI, NSA, ICE. All of these things are being used right before your very eyes, and it's very subtle how they're bringing it about. Local police departments, private corporations. They also have Babel Street. What is Babel Street? Okay, Babel Street is a private intelligence and surveillance technology company that specializes in open source intelligence. All right, this is how they're able to, basically spy on you through your phones. All right, and this stuff has its own language as well, man. All right, but again, why a Babel Street and it's dealing with surveillance? Because this is the modern day Tower of Babel. Okay, Babel Street creates tools that monitor and analyze massive volumes of data from social media, blogs, news, forums, dark web, and even translation databases in real time. So they see everything. Nothing's hidden. We're going to need the Lord, man. Okay, and when we understand what Daniel, the 12th chapter, is talking about, let's get it. Daniel, the 12th chapter, in the first verse, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even unto that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book of life. See that? And the scriptures talks about knowledge being increased in these times. So AI in these kind of systems, policing and taking root in the earth is a big part of the trouble that's coming. It's going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. It's going to be demonic. It's going to be harsh. It's going to be crazy. Okay? And we're in these times. Okay?
Target Christians when they're monitoring everything they're saying, every email they're sending, anything in regards to the synagogue of Satan or anything else that they consider hate speech. So here he is talking.
They can find your ass and root you out. Okay, it's basically a left-handed angel tracking and tracing, the who's against them, who's for them. And then they can pass the necessary laws based upon the technology and based upon the AI to justify, okay, what they're doing, man. These people are absolutely crazy. These are the modern day Chaldeans, the witches and warlocks of the Babylon of today, Babylon the Great.
Talking about these multiple ideologies.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through a technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics. There certainly is a sense in which sort of materialist, scientific, technological utopia seems quite at odds with the Christian, Judeo-Christian worldview. But I think there are some commonalities that it's worth also stressing on. And I think one very important commonality is that both have this view that the future will look very different from the present or the past. And this is certainly the view that's presented in science fiction. It's presented in that the New Jerusalem is not, you're not going back to the Garden of Eden. So there sort of is a sense that the future looks very different from the past.
The anti-Messiah. Okay, they're going to be like madmen, sparing none. Okay, the destroying people who fear the Lord. Okay,
I think that we are living in a society that I think is, people who are Christian often like to complain that it's sort of vaguely anti-Christian in different ways. I would submit that it is at least as anti-scientific and anti-technological. And so if you look at the movies that Hollywood makes, it would be hard-pressed to come up with a single movie in which science and technology are portrayed in a
These devils have used Christianity to confuse the world, all right? And now they're using science, okay, to solidify all of the wickedness that they did. These people are crazy, man. And these are the type of people that have control over the laws and the legislation, the food, everything. And these are sodomites too, man.
Positive light, and they basically show science and technology that kills people. It doesn't work, and you have a menu of dystopias you can choose from. The future will look like Avatar or the Terminator or the Matrix or Elysium. And it's sort of, if you look at the Gravity movie that came out a year ago, you basically want to go back onto Muddy Island.
And this is what so-called the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American who's mocking us. This is what they're ignoring. Okay.
Never go into outer space. And so I think this notion that we're living this extraordinary, and I think Hollywood, it sort of as it often does, it both sort of creates and reflects the popular consensus that science and technology are dangerous things that should be stopped. And so I come at it from the perspective that we have somehow lost our way. We no longer believe in a future that looks very different from the present. I think it's an interesting intellectual history question why we've lost this hope in a better future. But I do think it's a very severe loss because there are an awful lot of problems that science and technology could help solve, but they will not be solved if we do not try to work at them.
So again, it shouldn't surprise anybody that Peter Thiel packs the fudge because most of these guys in Silicon Valley do. And if you know about the people that pack the fudge, well, you know what their preferences are.
They pack the fudge. These are chili doggers. Okay? You make what you want of that. Okay? Sodomites. Okay?
In the bedroom. So Peter Thiel has hired Alex Karp as the CEO of Palantir. They go way back with one another. And Alex Karp is connected to the Bilderberg Group. He's connected to the World Economic Forum. He's actually one of the most wicked people you'll ever hear speak. And you could just tell by looking at Alex Karp that something's off, right? Not just because of his crazy hair. And you can see his cover of Forbes magazine, Meet Big Brother. Because these are the people behind the curtain who are responsible for the mass censorship that's been going on, creating the algorithms that are censoring all of us, and trying to bring in behavioral control, as you'll hear him say in some of these clips. And you can see his profile even on the World Economic Forum's website. And of course, Alex Karp is never married, conveniently, right? A lot of these guys don't marry. A lot of these guys have a very bizarre lifestyle. And it doesn't surprise anybody out there when they read that he's actually, the religion that he follows is called the Kabbalah. And I'll leave it at that. Palantir stands with Israel. One of the posts that they recently put in the newspaper. You could just look at these guys and they're involved in disturbing activities. This guy, Alex Karp, is just as bad as anybody I've discussed, including Bill Gates. Listen to some of the stuff he says that even sound a lot like what Larry Fink says. Because remember, all of the stuff they're trying to do is about behavioral control. And people hear behavioral control and they're like, well, maybe we do need to control people's behavior. But you don't understand what the behavioral control is. If I told you behavioral control is, we're going to stop criminals from committing crimes, or we're going to rehabilitate them, everyone will go, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we need to change their behavior because they're bad people. They look at everyday citizens as bad people. If you're non-compliant to their enslavement grid, you're considered a bad person with bad behavior. If you have any religious beliefs, you're considered a bad person with bad behavior. If you question the government at all, even if the government comes to your front door and punch you in the nuts, You're considered a bad person with bad behavior. They are trying to mold and manipulate people through the digital realm into behaving the way that they want. And the way that they want is for you to bend over for them, to give up your lifestyle, to change the way you eat, to change the way you travel, to change the way you communicate, to change your religious beliefs into what they want it to be, because they believe that they can bring in this utopian hell through technology. And it's an...
As a matter of fact, let's get the book of let's get First Maccabees. Man, time is flying, man. Sheesh. It's like an hour goes by like 20 minutes now. First Maccabees 1 and 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many of the Israelites consented to his religion. And that's exactly what this is, a religion. Okay? And sacrifice unto idols. And they have their idols. Okay? As a matter of fact, let's type this in. First Maccabees. Was branding a part of... Well, and branding is the modern day form of branding is the MOTB. And those who disobeyed his order was put to death. They had to throw away their religion and come up under his. Was branding or marking a part of this? While First Maccabees doesn't use the word branding, there is historical and cultural clues that some form of physical marking or forced identity alteration may have occurred. Okay? In Greek culture, branding or tattooing slaves as prisoners was common. Okay? So now we're living at an upgraded version of this. Okay? Of Hellenization. That which is then is now, man. Again, we're tying the old ancient world to the now. Okay, because again, I asked here in ChatGPT, let's see here, how do the Chaldeans compare to the technocrats of today? Okay. While the Chaldeans and modern technocrats lived in vastly different worlds, they share some striking parallels in strategy, influence, and how they compare to power. Okay, rise through systems they didn't originally control. See? Chaldeans rose to power within an existing Assyrian and Babylonian imperial structure, despite being outsiders. Okay, technocrats often come from academic, corporate, or technological fields and rise within influence, governmental or global institutions, despite not being elected officials. Who elected any of these people that we're hearing about right here? Okay. Influence without initial military power, and then they take over your military. Okay? Chaldeans gain local support in Babylon through religious, political, and cultural influence, not through military might at first. Technocrats influence policy and shape public life through data, algorithms, economic models, and expert advice. Okay? Use of deception, timing, and soft power. The Chaldeans pretended to support Assyrian rulers while building secret opposition and forging local alliances, buying people out. Okay, technocrats may advance neutrality or objectivity while actually pushing specific ideological, economic, and corporate agendas behind closed doors. All right, mastery of legitimacy narratives. Chaldeans claim to restore Babylonians' religion and cultural purity, make America great again, presented themselves as saviors from foreign oppression. We got to, all of the migrants that were brought over here. We got to get jobs back in America, America this, America that. Okay. Technocrats often present themselves as rational, data driven problem solvers who will save society from political dysfunction or climate collapse. You see that? And this is where we are, man. Replacing a declining power. Okay. Chaldeans rose to power during the collapse of the Assyrian, filling a power vacuum. Technocrats rise as traditional political systems where people lose trust in them, with governments outsourcing decision and panels of experts, AI, and corporate consultants, man. Okay. Then I typed in, what is the role of the Chaldeans in Babylon? Did they practice witchcraft and sorcery? Why are they linked with end time prophecy in Isaiah 47? Will Babylon the Great, which is a future rulership, rule similar to the Chaldeans? All right, and it goes into a lot, but we'll probably get into this one in part 2. Let's see here. Will Babylon the Great rule like the Chaldeans? Yes, in spiritual and strategic parallels. Okay. Chaldea ruled through empire and culture. Babylon the Great rules through global influence and seduction. Chaldea used sorcery, astrology, and false religion. Babylon receives nations through sorcery, Greek pharmakia, yada, yada, yada. The Chaldeans say, I shall be a lady forever, Isaiah 47:7. Babylon the Great said, I will sit as a queen and see no sorrow. We already showed you those. This is what I wanted to get into. How would the Chaldeans use AI and Palantir today? Powerful question. Because imagining how the Chaldeans, known for sorcery, astrology, and secret knowledge, would use AI platforms like Palantir today, reveal how ancient strategies echo in modern technologies. Okay? Who were the Chaldeans? Not just rulers, but priests, magicians, just like Pharaoh had his priesthood and his magicians, store watchers, and data interpreters of the ancient world. They use patterns in the stars, omens, and dreams to control kings and empires. In Daniel 2, they are summoned to interpret a dream and reveal hidden things using what today people would call intelligence analysis. If the Chaldeans had access to AI and Palantir today, all right, AI would be the new sorcery, just as they use astrology and omens to predict the future. Okay, they're even using Palantir to predict. All right, and like the Elder Ariala said, they're able to predict using these technologies where crime is going to be heavily in certain neighborhoods. So this is where the police drive at, and like he said, it's not like we know Jake is doing wickedness, right? But because of their algorithms and their ability to predict the future and predict crime, and where of course they're constantly hounding Jake. They're constantly in areas where Jake is. So of course you're going to find out more Jakes that are doing wickedness. But this doesn't mean Edomites, all right, aren't doing the same wickedness, man. Hooked on drugs, stealing, killing, raping, robbing, murdering. Even lower level Edomites do a lot of crime, man. See? But the target, all right, is always going to be what? All right, people who are Muslims, okay? Jake, right? That's what this is being used to wage war on. As a matter of fact, before we finish this, let's go here. Well, this particular person is calling this demon out. 1645, remember that. About how this technology is being used against the Palestinians. Let's go.
founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp in 2004, thanks to a grant from the CIA's venture capital arm, InQtel. During a shareholder meeting earlier this year, Palantir's CEO Alex Karp bragged about the blood his high-tech killing products had shed around the world.
Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
Palantir has also invested heavily.
So they get a kick out of it. They're bloodthirsty, man. What does it say? Since you didn't hate blood, blood is going to be given unto you.
Israel's genocidal assault on the Gaza Strip, where its programs have assisted Israel's AI targeting in the face of public protest, Karp has proudly acknowledged his company's role in the Gaza bloodbath.
Mostly terrorists. That's true. Okay.
So if they're calling them terrorists, what the hell you think they're going to do against us? See what I'm saying?
By the time the AI Expo began, Palantir's stock was surging to record heights thanks to a disturbing New York Times report revealing that the Trump administration had granted the company a massive contract to integrate the private data of American citizens across a wide array of federal government departments.
And see, now the likes of Alex Jones is sympathizing with this. Remember, he was against it? See if I can find that video. Which is much more in these videos we'll get into in part 2, but check this out.
This is exclusive. I love this.
Flipped by Alex.
Alex Jones is providing an exclusive to Alex Jones responding to the Palantir hysteria and laying out what's really happening. Now, where is Alex Jones? Does he still have, is InfoWars still?
Everybody's asking me about Palantir. And when you look at it and you understand it.
Hold on for 1 second. Oh,
see, he used to be against stuff like this. This was all tools of the deep state, but now he's with it.
And has been wanting to get big contracts. And Trump wants to use it to track illegal aliens and stuff, and the real ID that they're trying to bring in that's terrible.
They would never use this against U.S. citizens, right?
They never got implemented because it's unconstitutional. So I've been critical of all that. I obviously don't trust Palantir and the rest of the stuff it's doing. But it is small compared to all the other big AI and the Pentagon Sentinel and all the rest of it. The reason you're seeing the attacks on it everywhere is because it's trying to get contracts that other big tech companies already have, and because Palantir has been supportive of Trump. And so, yeah, Trump is going to them because they've been supporters. But all this hype about Palantir, all of these systems can be used for control. All these systems.
All right, so just to be clear, what he's doing here is his buddies in Austin.
Yep.
He's basically just running cover for his buddies in Austin.
Palantir's not great, but there's other. This is just they're an underdog. They're an underdog.
A great.
We should be rooting for them.
The watchword here is when he says "but," because he'll say all these sorts of things that.
But let's be clear. Has been supportive of Trump, and so yeah, Trump is going to them because they've been supporters. But all this hype about Palantir, all of these systems can be used for control. All these systems are out of control. All the AIs are woke. But so Palantir is being used.
So all of this shit was a sham, man. Again, these people are controlled opposition. They say things that are good, but again, you've been led to the MOTB system, even by the guys you thought were for you, man.
To run AI, drones, kill people in Gaza. All of it's very concerning. But why do people know about Palantir and nothing else? Well, that's because it comes from the left, only focusing on Palantir, because it's seen as something being brought in to surveil the government itself and to try to find ways for abuse. That's what Trump wants it for. Trump advocates Palantir with expanding U.S. surveillance state. And the New York Times and all of them are all over it. Palantir's and deepening government ties spark fears of centralized surveillance. And you've got the owner of it, the CEO of it, with all his statements about crushing the right wing in Europe, all that stuff. I've got serious concerns. It's just that endless hyping about it and only focusing on it is coming out of the left, and the populist anti-globalist movement has taken it absolutely hook, line, and sinker. You've been completely flummoxed.
Yeah, so there you go. Okay, the all of these people that was supposed to be for you, right? But
no matter which political party, politician, or billionaire is promoting it.
So that's the deep state. So the new deep state are these people. So just so you know, there's the as Chris Hedges talked about, it's a corporatists against these new techno-feudalists and the oligarchs versus the corporatists. That's what this is about. So these are the new people taking control from the old guard, and they're the new deep state. And that's what's happening. And so Trump is, and by the way, there's a new in this big, beautiful bill. Trump and the GOP are making it illegal for states to pass any laws to control AI in their states. So why would they put that in there? Unless they're planning on doing stuff that they know people aren't going to want, that people are going to be so against that they would want their own state legislatures to stand up against it. They're preempting that, and they're making it illegal. Trump is doing that. Trump is making it illegal for local governments. Remember, conservatism is all about taking power away from the federal government, and giving it to local communities. Well, he's taking that power away from local communities to stand up to all this nefarious stuff that they're planning on doing.
Because they've been bought out by the Chaldeans.
Doing with AI and controlling your life and debanking you and giving you a state ID, a digital ID and digital banking and all that stuff. So that's in this bill too. And that's another part that I haven't even heard Rand Paul talk about that. They're just talking about the debt and the deficit. To me, this is the deep state takeover via Trump.
Yep.
And it's the new deep state. It's what Steve Bannon called on our show. They want a techno-feudal system where they...
And have not we told you all of this?
Get to rule over you, and you don't get, just like you didn't get to vote for or against medical mandating the vaccine. You just couldn't go to work, or you couldn't travel, or you couldn't go to school, or you couldn't go to college. You couldn't do anything unless you took their product, which was against, that goes against.
And this is not news. This is not medical information. We're just in the news.
Everything that I've ever thought was considered liberal. That goes against everything. That goes against. What did they do after?
Let's read a little bit more of this, and we'll close it out because it's getting a little too long. But y'all should be used to that, right? AI as the new sorcery. Just as they use astrology and omens to predict the future, they use AI algorithms to forecast trends, social unrest, political shifts, economic collapse, and that's what they're doing. Okay? They wouldn't just predict events, they'd shape them, feeding AI the right inputs to steer outcomes. Okay? The ancient Chaldeans used signs in the heavens to decode faith. Modern Chaldeans would predictive models, big data, and neural networks to decode and control fate. There you go. This is what they're doing, man. Palantir, the crystal ball of empire. Palantir Technologies is a real-life intelligence platform used by governments, militaries, and corporations for surveillance, mass surveillance, predictive policing, okay, battlefield intelligence. Okay, how do you think these these police officers, all right, get their assignments of where to go, and all right, they predict where the crime is going to be for that day or for that week. You're going to heavily surveil these places. All right, they're working their witchcraft. As a matter of fact, doesn't the scripture say he's lurking? And he think this is going to get him the victory, man. Okay? Psalms 10 and 8, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, and in the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are set privily against the poor. And it's not that Jake is not doing wickedness. All right. But again, Esau is doing even more wickedness. Okay. But they're able to what? Use, all right, these systems to pinpoint, all right, so-called black and brown people. When Esau is doing all kind of drugs and crime and nastiness. But all of them got to go. Okay. Going back here. Economic forecast and social behavior tracking. If the Chaldeans were in charge of it, they would track citizens' thoughts, purchases, fears, and loyalties, create digital maps of society like they did with the heavens, build a prophetic AI priesthood where only the elite interpret the data. And there's a language, there was a video that I had, the elder brother Ashiyar sent it to me. Again, I had it Well, this AI has its own language, man, and only the elites can pretty much decipher it, man. This is what's coming, man. We're at the Tower of Babel all over again. They would hide their true power of systems while appearing as saviors or geniuses, just as they did in Babylon. Wow. Wow. A digital priesthood and control through mystery. In Babylon, known as power, the Chaldeans would monopolize. Knowledge was power, and the Chaldeans monopolized it. Ordinary people couldn't read stars or understand omens, so they trusted the priest class. Today, AI platforms like Planetary are black boxes to most people. A small elite class of technocrats, intelligence analysis, corporate overlords interpret the digital omens and tell the rest of us what's coming. Okay, and let's get an example of that. Planetary CEO tells Americans to get ready for a 3-front war with Russia, China, and Iran. Okay, that? These are your guys, man. This is the serpent, okay, who's more subtle than the beast of the field, man. They're prophets on the left-hand side. See? And like he said, this guy, Gates of Hell, years ago, did the same thing when he prophesied that they're going to use these things to reduce the pop. All right? You can just read that comment, pause it, and read it. Let's go back here. The worship, it says the same dynamic here. Keep the masses in mystery while hidden class manipulates data behind the curtain. Worship of the machine and rebirth of mystery religion. All right, science, magic, religion, and state power, because this is a religion. Modern Babylon, aka Babylon the Great, might worship AI as godlike, use Planetary to enforce and control fear and omniscience, build a digital Tower of Babel. This thing has been listening to us. Okay. A world system unified under one brain. So there you go. All right. If the Chaldeans rule today, astrology and omens, AI predictive models, sorcery and enchantments, deep fakes, media manipulation. Those are the modern day enchantments, man. Sacred texts, source code, priority algorithms, priestly elites, technocrats, and intelligence analysts, Babylonian ziggurats, smart cities, and surveillance towers. Woo! And they're setting it up. They would control the narrative, predict and prevent dissent, rule through secret knowledge, make people dependent on their wisdom. Wow. Wow. The Chaldeans were the prototype of today's technocratic elite. AI and Planetary wouldn't be tools of freedom in their hands. They'd be instruments of spiritual and political control, hidden behind the illusion of helping or protecting the people. Okay, peace and safety. Okay, we always read that, man. When they say, she'll say peace and safety, then sudden destruction is going to come up on them. 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction coming upon them. And this is what this system is trying to bring. Okay, peace and safety, thriving on global chaos.
Or even to exist legally in society. It's the digital equivalent of house arrest, and it's coming globally. Technocrats are also capitalizing on military collapse to introduce peace-building and resilience packages, typically administered through supranational institutions like the United Nations, World Bank, or World Economic Forum. These initiatives are deliberately engineered to circumvent democratic oversight. While the public assumes these bodies merely offer guidance, the reality is more insidious. They install unelected task forces, policy frameworks, and enforcement mechanisms that bind nations to global governance in practice, if not in name. Once these frameworks are in place, national sovereignty is reduced to window dressing. And where traditional governments falter entirely, technocrats move in with city-scale prototypes. Smart cities are the flagship model, fully connected urban environments wired with sensors, biometric surveillance, 5G infrastructure, and algorithmic governance systems. Projects like NEOM in Saudi Arabia or Songdo in South Korea are not just architectural marvels, they are dry runs for a post-democratic society. In these environments, decisions are made not by councils or parliaments, but by real-time data streams fed into artificial intelligence systems that manage energy consumption, human movement, law enforcement, and economic activity. These cities are being marketed as sustainable and innovative. In truth, they are digital technates, autonomous zones run by corporate boards and technical experts, devoid of political rights or moral accountability. At the heart of this transformation is artificial intelligence itself, the crown jewel of technocracy.
There you go. So, man, it's so much. It's so much, man. It's so much information we got here. But we'll go ahead and end it off. And then in the next one, we'll do a part 2 because it's a lot of information. I got a few other videos. I wanted to go into this one.
I haven't played.
This is a good one. And I'll do that either tomorrow if we don't go live or maybe Wednesday, you know. But again, we're not ignorant. We're not ignorant of this man's devices, man. Okay. 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get advantage of us. We are not ignorant of his devices, man. And he has many devices. Okay. And again, if you're not rooted, okay, in the wisdom and knowledge, these things are going to come by surprise and you're going to fold, man. Okay. Again, he's going to be able to present himself as the savior, as an angel of light. And if you're not careful, okay, you're going to fall into his hands. Ezekiel 2:28-2, Son of man, saying to the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God. Again, that which is then is now. The modern day prince of Tyrus is Esau. I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, the people. Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thy heart or thy mind as God. See, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret they can hide from thee. And again, this technology is a big part of that. Okay? Point blank period, man. Listen to a little bit more of this one.
Digital realm into behaving the way that they want. And the way that they want is for you to bend over for them, to give up your lifestyle, to change the way you eat, to change the way you travel, to change the way you communicate, to change your religious beliefs into what they want it to be, because they believe that they can bring in this utopian hell through technology. And it's an enslavement grid. Listen to this complete psychopath. And that's how you know these guys are psychopaths, when they're constantly bragging about how their goal is to control the world's behavior. And how on top of those things, you'll hear him even bragging about not only working with the government, but censoring what they consider to be the far right. Now, obviously, I don't believe in the far right, the far left, or the left. But any censorship of speech is how you begin behavioral control, because people will be fearful to post their thoughts on the internet. People will be fearful to go out in their day-to-day lives and speak about some of the issues going on for fear that they will be criminalized. And that's what they want to do. They want to criminalize you based on your thoughts and your own individuality. They're going to remove these things. Here is this psychopath talking about what their plans are with Palantir.
What we do is we use what legal scholars call predicate-based approach. So we would look at you, and then we would go out and say, oh, there's lots of different things in your life that may be indicative of someone involved in bad behavior.
Then we were asked if we were willing to supply our product at philanthropically, basically for free, and I was very in favor of this because our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
Well, we built PG, which single-handedly stopped the rise of the far right in Europe. We built Foundry, which was used to distribute the COVID vaccine and saved millions of lives globally. The central question, in my view, of civil liberties is how. It's not if the government has data, because let's assume the government has as much data as a health insurance company. It's how is that data being used? Is it being used in a way that's lawful? Meaning, do they have the right to use it? And is it being migrated into places it's not allowed to be used?
Yeah, and we'll come back. We're gonna tap into this in the next one. Make sure you check out this video by the Elder Ariala. Whew, it's a lot of information, man. And it's even more to bring out. But we're gonna leave it there. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Hopefully, I was edified. All right, and as the scriptures say, Chaldea. Let's see here. Let's see. Jeremiah 51:35. The violence done to me and my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitants of Zion say. and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. You see that? Jeremiah 51:24. I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea and all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord, man. Verse 10, and Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, said the Lord. So there's a judgment coming for all of this madness, but we ain't finished. We ain't even really got started yet with the craziness, man. Hopefully I'll edify it on to the next. Shalom.